Welcome to the Sunday Srimad Bhagavatam class for ISKCON Portland Temple. Today we'll be reading verse number 23 from chapter 12 of Canto 1. But before we get started, I would like to chant the Mangalacharan prayers to invoke the blessings of our previous acharyas and of all the assembled devotees here. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते ताप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I'll also chant the invocation verses for Srimad Bhagavatam before getting started. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः. Okay, I'll share my screen to so that we can read the verse for today. Okay. So 1.12.23. I'll read it a few times, maybe 3 times, and then we can see if any devotees would like to read it as well. Pitamaha samah samye prasade girishopamaha ashraya sarva bhutanam yatha devo ramashrayah. Pitamaha samah samye prasade girishopamaha ashraya sarva bhutanam yatha devo ramashrayah. Pitamaha समः साम्ये प्रसादे गिरिशोपमः आश्रयः सर्वभूतानां यथा देवो रमाश्रयः. Would any devotees like to chant?
You can try, Mataji.
Thank you.
Namah Smasami Sadi Grishopamaha Ashraya Sarva Bhutanam Yatha Devo Ramashaya.
Can I go, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Pitamaha samaha samaye prasade girishopamaha ashraya sarvabhutanam yatha devo ramashraya. Hare Krishna.
Pitamaha Samasamye Prasade Kishopama Ashraya Sarvabhutanam Yata Devo Ramashraya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Pitamaha Samasamye Prasade Girishapama Ashraya Sarvabhutanam Yato Deva Ramashaya. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Pitama Samha Samye Prasad Guru Sampha Mama Ashraya Sarva Patunanam Yatha Devo Ramasrayaha.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, so we'll move ahead with synonyms and translation and purport after that. Pitamaha, the grandfather or Brahma. Samaha, equally good. Samye, in the matter. Prasade, in charity or in munificence. Girish, Lord Shiva. Upamaha, comparison of equilibrium. Ashreha, resort. Sarva, all. Bhutanam, of the living beings. Yatha, as. Devaha, the Supreme Lord. Rama Ashrayaha, the personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This child will be like his grandfather Yudhishthir or Brahma in equanimity of mind. He will be munificent like the Lord of the Kailash hill Shiva, and he will be the resort of everyone like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, who is even the shelter of the goddess of fortune. Purport. Mental equanimity refers both to Maharaj Yudhishthir and to Brahma, the grandfather of all living beings. According to Sridhar Swami, the grandfather referred to is Brahma, but according to Vishwanath Chakravarti, the grandfather is Maharaj Yudhishthir himself. But in both cases, the comparison is equally good because both of them are recognized representatives of the Supreme Lord, and thus both of them have to maintain mental equanimity, being engaged in welfare work for the living being. Any responsible executive agent at the top of the administration has to tolerate different types of onslaughts from the very persons for whom he works. Ramaji was criticized even by the gopis, the highest perfectional devotees of the Lord. The gopis were dissatisfied with the work of Brahmaji because Lord Brahma, as creator of this particular universe, created eyelids which obstructed their seeing Lord Krishna. They could not tolerate a moment's blinking of the eyes, for it kept them from seeing their beloved Lord Krishna. So, what to speak of others who are naturally very critical of every action of a responsible man? Similarly, Maharaj Yudhishthir had to cross over many difficult situations created by his enemies, and he proved to be the most perfect maintainer of mental equanimity in all critical circumstances. Therefore, the example of both grandfathers for maintaining equanimity of mind is quite fitting. Lord Shiva is a celebrated demigod who awards gifts to beggars. His name is therefore Ashutosh, or one who is pleased very easily. He is also called the Bhutanath, or the Lord of the common folk, who are mainly attached to him because of his munificent gifts, even without consideration of the after effects. Ravan was very much attached to Lord Shiva, and by easily pleasing him, Ravan became so powerful that he wanted to challenge the authority of Lord Ram. Of course, Ravan was never helped by Lord Shiva when he fought with Ram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord of Lord Shiva. To Vrikrasur, Lord Shiva awarded a benediction which was not only awkward but also disturbing. Vrikrasur became empowered by the grace of Lord Shiva to vanish anyone's head simply by touching it. Although this was awarded by Lord Shiva, the cunning fellow wanted to make an experiment of the power by touching the head of Lord Shiva. Thus, the Lord had to take shelter of Vishnu to save himself from trouble, and the Lord Vishnu, by his illusory potency, asked Vikrasur to make an experiment with his own head. The fellow did it and was finished himself, and so the world was saved from all sorts of trouble by such a cunning beggar of the demigods. The excellent point is that Lord Shiva never denies anyone any sort of gift. He is therefore the most generous, although sometimes some kind of mistake is made. Rama means the goddess of fortune, and her shelter is Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is the maintainer of all living beings. There are innumerable living beings, not only on the surface of this planet, but also in all other hundreds of thousands of planets. All of them are provided with all necessities of life for the progressive march towards the end of self realization. But on the path of sense gratification, they are put into difficulty by the agency of Maya, the illusory energy, and so travel the path of a false plan of economic development. Such economic development is never successful because it is illusory. These men are always after the mercy of the illusory goddess of fortune, but they do not know that the goddess of fortune can live only under the protection of Vishnu. Without Vishnu, the goddess of fortune is an illusion. We should therefore seek the protection of Vishnu instead of directly seeking the protection of the goddess of fortune. Only Vishnu and the devotees of Vishnu can give protection to all. And because Maharaj Parikshit was himself protected by Vishnu, it was quite possible for him to give complete protection to all who wanted to live under his rule. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So I'm going to read the verse and the translation once again, and then we'll dive into the purports. There are so many points in this purport that we can discuss. पितामहः समः साम्ये प्रसादे गिरिशोपमः आश्रयः सर्वभूतानां यथा देवो रमाश्रयः. This child will be like his grandfather Yudhishthir or Brahma in equanimity of mind. He will be munificent like the lord of the Kailash hill Shiva, and he'll be the resort of everyone like the supreme personality of Godhead Narayan, who is even the shelter of the goddess of fortune. So, who is saying this verse, or what's the context? And the answer is that this young prince Parikshit has been born, and there are King Yudhishthir is consulting the Brahmanas, great rishis like Dhaumya and Kripacharya, and to make his horoscope to predict how this child will be in future. And interestingly, those Brahmanas were able to tell the entire history, even the future, what's going to happen to this child. Um, they first are telling how all the great qualities that this child will have, and this verse is one of the examples for that, where this child is being compared to great personalities, to Lord himself. He's being compared to Brahmaji, to Lord Shiva in some respects, and even to the Supreme Lord Narayan himself in terms of giving protection, to shelter to others. And in the previous verses and the verses after this, he has been compared to various great personalities like Lord Ram, Bali Maharaj, Manus, Prahlad Maharaj, and so on and so forth. Like great personalities have been compared to this child Parikshit. And towards the end of the chapter, we also see that the Brahmanas are even able to tell that this child will be cursed and he'll be killed and he will listen to Bhagavatam. Like they basically know everything. It was a great science. It is a great science where learned Brahmanas can know everything about a child based on the horoscope. So it was a brilliant horoscope of Parikshit Maharaj, that he was compared to so many personalities. He has great qualities. And just to give a comparison, like there is also a horoscope made for all the people of Kali Yuga, like us. And that comes in verse 1.1.10 of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it's a general horoscope for everybody who is born in Kali Yuga, that he will be have short lives, quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, disturbed. So I'll just read this verse. Uh, it's a stark contrast to how Maharaj Parikshit was. So Prayena alpayusha sabhya kalavasmin yuge janha mandha sumanda matayo manda bhagya hi upadritaha. So the people of Kali Yuga, on the contrast, are the ones who will have short lives, will have all these qualities of being quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, manda sumanda, manda bhagya, and all that. So what a nice horoscope of Maharaj Parikshit compared to people of Kali Yuga. Anyway, so with that, we'll see there are Srila Prabhupada has filled this purport with very, very nice points here. Starting with, we'll take the mental equanimity section. The first comparison which was made of Maharaj Parikshit is with his Pitamaha grandfather, that he will be Samye, he will Samha Samye, he will be equipoised, or he will have mental equanimity towards everyone like his grandfathers. And two great commentators have have interpreted the word pitama differently, but both examples work perfectly. So in one example, Sridhar Swami is referring to Lord Brahma, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is referring to Maharaj Yudhishthir, who is also the grandfather in this particular life. And both these personalities, Maharaj Yudhishthir and Brahmaji, are very are they are authorized representatives of God, and they are carrying out that order, that responsibility very nicely in a very equanimous, with lot of mental equanimity. What is the meaning of equanimity? There is a verse which says, "Samya sarvatra dvesha abhave." So one who has mental equanimity is one who is dvesh abhave, who does not have. Abhav means absence of, and dvesh is envy towards others. So they do not have envy towards anyone. So Lord Brahma, who is in charge of this entire creating this entire material creation, he creates all living beings based on their karma, but he does not have any dvesh, any envy towards any living entity. He does not interject his own ideas or his own whims in how the living entity will be created. And even though he was attacked by asuras in discharging his duties, he was not affected by that. So the personalities who are at the top, who are administrators, some have to sometimes take onslaughts from people whom they are serving, which is very unfortunate. As you go up the ladder, people become more and more envious of you. The general, the factor of envy that you have to tolerate becomes more and more. So even though many people want to go to the top, it's never a very peaceful situation over there, where you have to, tolerate a lot. So only those people like Lord Brahma and Lord and Yudhishthir Maharaj, who have that kind of mental equilibrium, can perform their duties perfectly, while being a leader, not getting affected by whatever repercussions, whatever bad elements do to them, or whatever envy they have to tolerate from their subordinates. So uh, it's not easy. It's not easy to be a leader, but Maharaj Yudhishthir and Brahmaji are great examples of that. And these Brahmanas are telling Maharaj Yudhishthir that even this newborn baby Parikshit will also be like that. He will be like he will have similar characteristics. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, one name for him is given as Ajata Shatru. Ajata Shatru means Jat is born, Shatru is enemy. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is one whose enemy has never been born. But how could that be? He had so many enemies. He had to fight the whole Mahabharat war. He had to tolerate so many aggressions by the Duryodhan. Like he was about to be killed in the Lakshagraha and so on. I mean, he did have enemies, if you see. But the meaning of that Ajat Shatru is that he did not consider anyone enemy in his own heart. So people were doing all kinds of things, but in his heart, he was very calm. He did not consider anyone as an enemy. So that's a very high state of mental being. Um, and that's the kind of mental equanimity which is being talked about. So Brahmaji, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is giving the example of gopis, that Brahmaji created this whole creation, but he was criticized even by the great devotees like gopis, that why did he create the eyelids? And it is part of the Gopi Geet. I'll pull up that verse here. It's a very sweet verse. I think I have it here. Yeah, this one. So it's in Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 31st chapter, verse number 15. It's one of the verses in the Gopi Geet. where the gopis are saying, I'll read the translation first. When you means Krishna, when you go off to the forest during the day, a tiny fraction of a second becomes like a millennium for us because we cannot see you. And and even when we can eagerly look upon your beautiful face, so lovely with its adornment of curly locks, our pleasure is hindered by our eyelids, which were fashioned by the foolish creator. So they are calling Brahmaji as foolish. The word in Sanskrit is jada udikshatam. I'll maybe read this verse. Atati adbhavan ahanikananam त्रुटियुगायते त्वामपश्यताम् कुटिलकुन्तलं श्रीमुखं च ते जड उदीक्षतां pakshmakridrisham. So they are calling Brahmaji as Jada, as a foolish person because he created the eyelids. So Brahmaji has to tolerate listening to these things despite doing all the great things that he's doing. So yeah, all the great administrators, um, they have to tolerate a lot, and you can never make everyone happy, despite whatever great things you're doing. I can even see our Jai Sachin Prabhu here. I mean, he's managing the temple, but it's really hard to keep everyone happy, despite whatever, how much ever work he does. And similarly, you go higher and higher, people who are great administrators, it's not an easy job that they have to do, but they do it in the mood of service. So Parikshit Maharaj was being compared for this, with the personalities like Brahmaji and Yudhishthira Maharaj. I had some notes here. Yeah, even Nityananda Prabhu, I had written that he went out to distribute the holy name of Lord Krishna, and he had to Jagai and Madhai hit him, and so he had to undergo that pain, but he took it as part of his service. So the authorized representatives of God, like Brahmaji here, they do all these management related works, but their main purpose that they do, the main service that they do, is to enable spiritual progress of everyone who is under them. So Brahmaji, we are all under the Brahma Sampradaya. So he started the Sampradaya itself, and because he received the instruction from Lord Krishna. And so that's one main thing that he's doing, apart from taking care of the day-to-day material creation related works. The spiritual progress of people under him is the main thing that he's doing. And there's one very nice verse in Canto 2, chapter 6, number 34, where Brahmaji says, like, how is he able to do all this? It's not an easy job, as we have just discussed. They have to tolerate so many things, but Brahmaji makes a very bold statement in that verse. I have it open here. Let me bring it up. Yeah, 2.6.34, where Brahmaji says that he's able to do everything perfectly. Why? Because he has taken the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So I'll read I'm just going to read the translation here. Brahmaji is telling Narad Muni, "O Narad, because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari with great zeal, whatever I say has never proved to have been false." Such a bold statement. "Nor is the progress of my mind ever deterred, nor are my senses ever degraded by temporary attachment to matter. So this is the source of strength of pure devotees. That based since what is in their control is taking the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord, and then whatever they do becomes perfect. So that's how they're able to manage all these affairs of creation, administration, and so on. Yeah. So that was about this first paragraph, about Lord Brahmaji, Yudhishthira Maharaj, and how tolerant they have to be, and that Parikshit Maharaj will also be like that. And he actually showed it later, when he was cursed by the Brahmin. the son of the Brahmin. He could have counter cursed, or he could have, retaliated, but he did not do that. He just took it as a blessing. He even um, yeah, he did not do any retaliation for that. So he had mental equanimity to accept that situation that came upon him, and in fact make the best use of it. That he made such a best use that people are taking his name till date and will keep taking it. He showed us how to leave the world. And another example that Parikshit Maharaj displayed this equanimity of mind of not having dvesha, not having envy, is in the example when he met Kali personified. When Kali personified was beating the bull, and there was this episode of cow and bull being mistreated by Kali, and Parikshit Maharaj, um, he was still not envious of that person, and he forgave Kali. There is 1.18.7, Nanu Dveshti Kalim Samrat. So we'll just quickly look at, I think I have opened it here. Nanu Dveshti Kalim Samrat Saranga Iva Sarabhuk Kushlanyashu Siddhyanti Netarani Kritaniyat. So this is that episode which is going on where Kali personified is meeting Parikshit Maharaj. So I'll read the translation. Maharaj Parikshit was a realist, like the bees who only accept the essence of a flower. He knew perfectly well that in this age of Kali, auspicious things produce good effects immediately, whereas inauspicious acts must be actually performed to render effects. So he was never envious of the personality of Kali. So never he was never envious. So that's the thing. People who are samya, they are devoid of dvesha. They are devoid of envy. So anudveshti, he was never dveshti, never envious of Kali. And he gave him also place to live in his kingdom. So that's a long story. But yeah, basically Parikshit Maharaj displayed these qualities which are being talked about. He was not into tit for tat. We had a series recently, maybe a month or two ago, when um, Kanaya Thakur Prabhu was visiting us, and we discussed a lot of examples about tit for tat from scriptures during two lectures that he gave. So basically, people like us, Baddha Jivatmas, a majority of us are, we will do tit for tat. Somebody misbehaves with me, I'm going to misbehave with that person. So our actions are very predictable. You it's like a formula. You put someone in a situation, more or less, like 99.9% how that person is going to behave. But because it's tit for tat that most people live their life by. But the Shuddha Jivas, Paramhamsas, Shuddha devotees, pure devotees, and Lord Himself, they are not affected by, they are not, their behavior is not that predictable. They can do, um, they can actually do a lot of unpredictable things. Srila Prabhupada displayed that feature, that thing many times. That, for example, he was traveling a lot, and he was, you get jet lag. Like right now, I am jet lagged. I just came back from India, and it's, I think now 6 days, 5, 6 days, but I still am jet lagged. And Srila Prabhupada would be constantly traveling, and he would not show any jet lag. He would just, whenever he would land, he would just fix his watch based on the current local time. And then, yeah, whatever is the class time, Bhagavatam class, yeah, he will do that. Meet people, he will do that. It was, although the people who were traveling with him, young people, his secretaries and servants, they would get jet lagged. But Prabhupada was not affected by that. And not only just this jet lag is at the material level, you can say, but even on the mind level. He could talk to scientists and refute all their arguments and have a really heated discussion. Uh, but um, uh, but if there was some person in one lecture who was not shouting, but not being respectful to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was not affected. He just carried on. So whenever he wants, he will put his foot down and do arguments. When it is in the service of Krishna, when he was fighting with the scientists, it was not for his personal glory. It was because he wanted to bring present the Krishna conscious literature, the depth um, of our literatures to the intellectual community. So with that mood, he was doing that. But at personal level, if someone is attacking, he was not bothered. He was not in the tit for tat. Oh, you did this to me, I'll show you. I have so many followers. No, he did not send anybody after that person. He was unaffected. And similarly, Lord Krishna, his ways are unpredictable. I mean, it's not whimsical, but you cannot put him under the form in any formula. Like, for example, Ajamil uh, got such a great destination, but Bharat Maharaj, who spent his whole life, took sannyas, he was doing devotional activities, but for a small mistake, he became a deer. So, I mean, there is no really one formula. Ajamil had such a sinful life, but with one small good thing that he did, he got Vishnu Dutas came for him, but Bharat Maharaj had to become a deer. So I mean, the way Krishna is above all these laws, and he is not into any kind of tit for tat. So he can do anything. It's mostly Baddha Jivatmas like us, people who are bound into this material world, that we do this tit for tat, and we have predictable behavior. We have envy. That's the main thing. That's the main reason we are still here, because of the envy. And these great personalities like Parikshit Maharaj and Yudhishthir Maharaj, Lord Rama, they are dvesha abhave. They do not have dvesha. They do not have envy. Okay, so that was about discussion on the first paragraph. We'll go to the second paragraph. That's also very sweet. Actually, there's so many points. I don't know how much we'll be able to cover today. So the second one is about Lord Shiva, about how munificent he is and how easily he gets pleased uh, with anyone. So Lord Shiva, if you see, the first line says, Lord Shiva is a celebrated demigod who awards gifts to beggars. So people who go to him are beggars, because people who are going to him are going for materialistic things. They are not going to him to get Brahma Gyan. So those people who just want good house, good husband, good whatever job, green card, and all those things, they are very much, they are really beggars who only know materialistic things. They are not beyond that. And Lord Shiva, he is a great devotee. He is always busy doing Krishna katha about Lord Ram along with his full family. So when people come to him asking for car, can you give me a car, can you give me a house, he says, okay, just take it and leave. Don't disturb me. That's his mode, so that he gets pleased very easily. It's not about that his ego, he wants to it's a ego massage for him when people are praying to him, and okay, so now I'll give you if you pray more to me. It's more like, please, can you stop, can you go, okay, you want this, go, let me do my Ram Katha. He's the one who is telling Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana to Mother Parvati, and that's what he wants to do. And not so people who get these beggars who are asking for all these small things from Lord Shiva, they get it very easily. He gets pleased, but it's more like, okay, please let me do what I like to do, which is Ram Katha. Okay, and then yeah, there is this Vakrasur incident which we already read, how he was trying to kill Lord Shiva by this boon that Lord Shiva himself gave. Okay, so I want to spend a little more time on the third paragraph, which talks about taking shelter. So the last line here, only Vishnu and the devotees of Vishnu can give protection to all. And because Maharaj Parikshit was himself protected by Vishnu, it was quite possible for him to give complete protection to all who wanted to live under his rule. So the point is this one. Because Maharaj Parikshit was himself protected by Vishnu, that's why he was able to give protection to others. So you can only give what you first you need to have, only then you can give to others. And what he is giving is the real shelter. It is not the so we'll talk about, there are two types of shelters. So the kind of shelter that Maharaj Parikshit had was the ultimate shelter, which is the shelter of Vishnu, of Bhagwan, of Supreme Personality of Godhead. The shelter that he had was not the temporary shelters like parentage, wealth, and things like that. His protection was coming from Lord Vishnu. That was his shelter, and he, as a king, was able to give that to all the people under his rule. So that's a very great thing. So I just want to have a little more discussion on that. So in our Bhagavatam is actually full of such prayers, such discussions where we talk about real shelter and unreal shelter. So one great example which we can read is Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, where he tells war is not a real shelter. And that's where the parentage shows up. So I can close this one. Yeah, Balasya Neha Sharanam Pitaro Narsingha. So this is Canto 7, Chapter 9, verse number 19. And this is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. Balasya Neha Sharanam Pitaro Narsingha. So I'll read the translation. My Lord Narsinghadev, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls neglected and not cared for by you cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child. A physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient, and a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. So we take shelter in all these things. A child can think that the parents can protect him, but really, can the parents actually protect him? No, it's always the supreme. It's the shelter is coming from the Supreme Lord. If the parents are devotees, yeah, I mean, so again, they have that consciousness that the protection is coming from the Supreme Lord. But parents by themselves cannot do anything. Even a physician, a great doctor, cannot uh, relieve a suffering patient unless kripa from Bhagwan is there. Whatever great treatment you can take. Steve Jobs, he was such a rich man, he could not get relief from cancer. His physicians, the top rated physicians in the world, he could hire anybody, but they cannot relieve. Unless you have kripa from Krishna, nothing can happen. If Krishna wants to protect you, no one can harm you. And if Krishna wants to harm you, no one can protect you. Krishna rakhe, that one. Maar sake na koi. So the real shelter, the real protection comes from Lord Krishna. And so one was this Prahlad prayers, and also, I mean, our scriptures are full of that, but I picked up a couple of things. I'll close this. There's another nice example here. Fallible soldiers. Okay, 2.1.7 times. No, let me open it. So Deha Patya. Basically, Srila Prabhupada in his purport in Canto 2, verse 1, number 4, he was talking about how we think of all these soldiers are going to take care of us, of our body. So we think our body will take care of us. We think we have put our shelter in various soldiers who are fallible. They will not protect us when the time comes. So the real protection can only come from Krishna. So um, yeah, and when the real protection is there, it's like a person is drowning, and just a straw can protect that person if Krishna wants him to be protected. So that's a like the story of Narad Muni when he was a small child. He was when Narad Muni, he was a small child. He was saved because he had protection from Lord Krishna. His mother, he was a small 5-year-old. He served some saints who were crossing his village, and through their mercy, he got the Brahma Gyan, and he was a small child whose only family that he knew was his mother, and his mother was also bitten by a snake, and she left the body. But Narad, because he was under the protection of, he got the Gyan from the devotees, he felt his ultimate shelter to be the shelter of Supreme Lord. Not so he was not affected when his mother died, and he was able to become Narad Muni. That's a full story given in Bhagavatam. So we should not put our focus, our taking shelter from these material things. Instead, we should try to have put our faith in the real shelter, which is the shelter of Bhagwan. And Bhagwan, in Bhagavad Gita, at multiple places, he has said that he comes immediately. Na chirat, it said in 12.7, Tesham aham samudrata. He gives shelter immediately. He does not make any delay. It's we who take all the time in the world in accepting the shelter of the Lord, in actually putting our complete faith in Lord. But once we put our faith in the Lord just takes over. Like we can become like a small baby in the lap of the mother. If we take full, complete shelter of the Lord, we can be as relaxed, and we can sleep peacefully as if we are a small baby in the care of his or her mother. Mother will take care of everything. What is the need? It doesn't mean that you become lethargic and you don't do your duties. You do all that, but with Krishna consciousness. So once we become to that level, and we really have this full conviction that Krishna is my only shelter, then really we can live. The first symptom that comes in a person who has truly surrendered is that that person becomes fearless. Nothing can disturb that person. And like Srila Prabhupada, his name was Abhay, but he actually displayed being Abhay. Bhay is fear, is no fear. So he was fearless. He was able to do such great things at an advanced age because he had taken complete shelter of the Lord. And so who gets the shelter? One thing is that once we take the shelter, uh, we become fearless. But then who gets a shelter? Uh, i- is there a formula? The formula is very simple. Ye yatha mam prapadyanti. So it's totally up to us, like in how much ever we, we show the inclination or we put in our shraddha, accordingly the Lord reciprocates. So it's really on us, how much faith, how much shelter, how much faith we have in the Lord's shelter. And so, yeah. So Shraddha, I was also reading, it's of two types. Uh, so one when person takes has Shraddha. One is Laukik Shraddha, another one is Shastriya Shraddha. So there are two levels. One is the Laukik Shraddha is at the lower level where we just do because other people are doing that. So we see so many people come to the temple on Janmashtami. They come to the Krishna temple on Janmashtami. They go to the Ganesh temple on Ganesh Chaturthi. They go to Durga temple on Durga Ashtami, and so on. And they have, they are just flowing with the flow. They are, in Hindi we say bhed chal. They're just following what other people are doing without having the real knowledge. So they are following the people, lok. That's why lokik shraddha. Um, so they basically their shraddha has no ground. So today they have shraddha on Janmashtami, they are here, but tomorrow they may not be there. They might come only after 1 year. Maybe that too also, yeah, for prasadam or for just to have fun, not really out of love and devotion for Lord Krishna. The next, the real Shraddha is then is the Shastra based Shraddha, Shastriya Shraddha, where um, people, when the person knows why he's doing certain thing, it's not just because somebody, he has to impress someone, um, or just because my friends are doing, I'm doing, nothing better to do, so yeah, why not this? But really, when they read the shastra and they understand that why, for example, why should we chant, why should we read scriptures? So once they get that knowledge from the shastra, from the scriptures, um, that is the real shraddha. And our Srila Prabhupada and great devotees, when they talk, they are always quoting Shastra. Nothing is coming because they just they have not manufactured things. They are fully based. Whatever they are saying is based on Shastra. So they are not doing ads of anything while they are talking. Um, so Prabhupada would quote Shastra at all occasions. If he's in Bhagavad Gita class, there'll be quotations from Bhagavatam and vice versa, and from so many Upanishads. So he was well versed in the Shastra. All his Shraddha was coming from Shastra. And once you have it, only then you can give it to others. So Prabhupada had that full Shraddha in himself, and that's why he was able to give to others. And the verse for today also says the same, that Parikshit Maharaj, he had the full shelter of Lord Krishna. In the womb itself, he had seen Lord Krishna's protection from the Brahmastra. So he had experienced it firsthand and he had full conviction in that. And so he was able to give it to others. Yeah. So one thing is that the person, one, it's not, in order to take shelter, our Shraddha has to be that higher level Shraddha, not just based on, bhed cha, like because other people are doing, so I'm doing. So tomorrow when somebody will become an atheist, your friend becomes atheist, you will say, oh yeah, maybe that makes sense. Yeah, all these doesn't matter. Or, you can go on a different path. So, but once you have your Shraddha in the scriptures, then you are actually become grounded. And then apart from that, there is another thing that one has to do uh, to be able to take shelter. You need to have a strong character. So in one of the verses in chapter in Canto 1, chapter 17, verse number 24, Lord, it's explained in the purport that it's not easy to take shelter unless you follow the regulative principles. This is again that Parikshit Maharaj story where in the four regulative principles were explained when he was talking to Kali personified. So we need to have a good character, and one of the very one um, at least the basic thing that we need to do is to follow the four regulative principles. There is way more than that, like Bhagavad Gita chapter 16 and so many places where Lord Krishna tells all, list of good qualities that a person needs to have. But at least these four regulative principles, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit connections, and no gambling, those at least make you a little, but that's like the starting level. You need to have that and to have some good character. And then when you read the Shastra, you understand that, you need to be compassionate, and there's long list of qualities that Lord Krishna mentions, and being equipoised is one of those as well, where then you become dear to Lord Krishna. So one who takes shelter, devotee, um, you know, to in order to become a devotee, he needs to have a good character, and then he needs to move on from Laukik Shraddha to Shastra based Shraddha. So then he can have that real shelter of the Lord, and then he can give it to others. So Parikshit Maharaj in today's verse was able to give the shelter to people under him. He was a king, so that was his job. And the Brahmanas who are making his horoscope are telling that he will be able to do that because he has experienced the shelter himself. I think it's 8:52. I can stop here. Yeah, I'll see if there is anything else in my notes. Yeah. Yeah, I think I can stop here. If there are any corrections, anybody wants to share anything? Yeah, you can take that. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much for class. I wanted to mention the reading of our horoscope that I thought was interesting. It kind of took out the taste for guessing my horoscope later. Sumanda Mateo.
Yeah, so my horoscope.
I just yesterday I was thinking of, you know, the classes that I appreciate are those special connections that devotees make that go beyond what's immediately on the page, and I will keep that from this class and then think of a good example of how Prabhupada or the devote Krishna changes our destiny is, you know, today I'm chanting Hare Krishna, but there was no reason by my birth that would need to have happened. So thank you very much for that connection for class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for the wonderful, beautiful, class and taking time to go over each topic, each paragraph, what Sri Prabhupada mentioned. I one thing which I like to Mataji is about Lord Shiva. You know, he's the he gives permission to beggars just to go away. Okay, done with it and just go. I really love that particular point, Mataji. And I think is how he loves to glorify the Lord. Even though he gave the boon to Vikrasur that you can, you know, put your finger on anyone's head and the person can die. And when he came to him, he could just take a Trishul and just threw at him. Then it was just finished game there. The boy had to run and go to Vishnu. It was just to show that, just to glorify Lord Vishnu, take shelter of Lord Vishnu. I just same thing. So wonderful. Lord Shiva is amazing. So thank you so much for the wonderful point.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for this point. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much about narration of Kali Yuga age. What is the Kali Yuga like that? That is important. This is Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I have a question.
Okay, sure.
You mentioned how Lord Shiva is Ashutosh, he's very easily pleased. And so what have you heard about the proper ways in which we can ask Lord Shiva or his incarnations to assist us in our devotional service?
Yes, Prabhuji, what I have heard is that we should pray to them to give us Krishna Bhakti because they are great devotees. They have love for Lord Krishna. So can you, the mode in which we should pray to them is to please give us that love of Lord Krishna. That is what I've heard and understood from various devotees' lectures, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
You had some. I'm sure you already know the answer, but yeah, you have anything else that you want to say?
I'm simply curious as to, you know, the way that we worship Gaura is with Harinam Sankirtan or specific deities have they prefer certain things, and so I was wondering, you know, what would endear us to Lord Shiva to have him consider our plea to attain Krishna Bhakti? What if there's something approved by Prabhupada or the devotees? That was my question.
I think Narottam Vilas Prabhu has copy pasted something here in the chat. Prabhuji, do you want to read it out as well?
Mataji, this verse is written by Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on the best way to worship Lord Shiva. It's a very beautiful verse. Vrindavana Vanipate Jaya Soma Soma Maule Sanaka Sanandana Sanatana Naradidya Gopishwara Brajavilasi Gankri Patni Prema Praya Chirirupadya Namo Namaste. So he says, O gatekeeper of Vrindavan, which is Lord Shiva, Gopeshwara. O Soma, all glories unto you. O you whose forehead is decorated with the moon, and who is worshipable by Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, Narada, and the great sages. O Gopeshwara, desiring that you bestow upon me divine love for the lotus feet of Shishadha and Govinda, who perform joyous pastimes in Brajadham, I offer you my respects and to you again and again, basically. So this is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes as his prayer to Gopeshwar Mahadev in Vrindavan. So this is Stavavali of Chakravarti Thakur. Thank you.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, I guess we can be done. It's close to 9 o'clock, 8:58. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. We'll see you in the Sunday feast class later today.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. It was a wonderful time in Vrindavan Dham, Mataji.
Yes. Are you asking or what did you
Yeah,
say?
Mataji asking me how was it,
Oh,
Mataji, Vrindavan?
it was wonderful, Prabhuji. It was really great. Very grateful that I was able to be there for some time. I wanted to be there for longer, but whatever Lord Krishna allowed, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah. So I saw a video, Mataji, which Bhagavad
Mahavir
do
Bhagat.
yeah. We saw the video.
Yes,
Very nice
Prabhu.
for the video.
Yeah.
Jai. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.